We ready?
Ready.
A well-behaved woman is trim and proper. Chores always done, not a hair out of place. When the husband comes home, she greets him with a smile.
I'm sorry, what the fuck? Are you tired of Hitler?
I feel no shame.
Okay, one liar as a kid can find another liar.
I want that stricken from the record.
How else is she gonna learn if she doesn't have a feather?
I could go fuck in the big house.
You're a mess, girl. I am here to audition for Babysitters Club extras. I brought my own hammer.
And it's because we're just so comfortable with each other.
Yeah,
just,
for
like,
sure.
Just chilling.
But you really did do a nice job with the intro.
Thank you.
It's funny because like a lot of the pods I listen to, their intros or their outros, it's usually fan made. So like people can do this shit, and like that the fact I wasn't expecting a bad intro, but I was blown away when you first showed that to us.
I always appreciate hearing that because I was super proud of it.
It's amazing.
I had fun making it too. Like I
Yeah.
threw it together in like an hour.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A true stroke of inspiration.
Well, I knew what I wanted to come of it.
That helps.
Yeah. I'm not like it's one of those. Okay, I am terrible at art. I am not an artist at all.
Mm-hmm.
But I am crafty as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something that I want to make visually, like I can figure out a way to do it. I just won't be able to freehand it, right? Like I can't just take a pen to paper and draw it out.
We talked about this the other day in the garage, me and Annika and Chris, and she was asking us if we like see pictures in our head, and I'm like, almost exclusively. I visualize literally everything. It's just how my brain works.
Right.
I can remember almost everything I've ever seen.
Right.
But she was like, yeah, no, I don't see pictures at all. It's usually just like words. I'm like, whoa, that's very strange. I know I can't imagine. The only issue I have is translating what I can see in my head to my hand sometimes as an artist, and that can be frustrating.
And that's where it really falls down for me.
And it takes a lot of practice to do that. But some people just kind of have that door open and unlocked in their brain from the beginning. That talent just is like ready to just shoot off. I knew a kid. I grew up with a kid. This isn't to say that he hasn't practiced or mastered his craft. He has absolutely put in the time. But he was one of those kids that you could tell early on. He just had the thing. Like that door between his creativity and the way he was able to express it was just always fully open. And I always really admired that about him. Shout out Seamus Ray if you're listening. Last I checked, he was doing paintings out of a van that he was living out of in Florida, I think. But he had multiple paintings on Instagram go fucking insanely viral. Did one of Snoop Dogg that went super viral. Have you ever seen the meme of the kid painting himself?
Yeah.
That's fucking him. I grew up a block away from that kid.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome. He was a super fun kid to be around, super quirky when we were kids, and just always an amazing artist. And he and his family were super duper nice.
I had a friend in high school. I think I've told you the story about 2 flats and a cat. Yeah. So one of those guys that I was in there with, the one that got in trouble with me, he was an amazing piano. He is still an amazing piano player. And he could just he was a composer by the time he was 14, 15 years old, and could just write this shit as he went.
That's crazy.
Or whatever.
I have so much admiration for that.
Incredible. And he has a bunch of albums out now. Nice. He does obviously a lot of covers, but he he's just so creative.
One of these days I want to try and use these, do some music.
Go for it.
Do some covers.
Yeah.
I'll have to pick a day and figure out how best that'll work. But I was thinking about that the other day.
Getting over a cold here.
Well,
do we want to present?
Should we get into a fucking podcast? It's our casual 20 minutes of banter after the 2 hours we've already spent together talking, catching up, which is hilarious.
It really has been 2 hours, yeah.
Well, welcome back, or if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to Well-Behaved Women. We are, as always, here to tell campfire stories about badass women for better or worse of history, but we are missing Zombie Hannah Moses today, so it's just the lovely Lauren and I. Yes,
and I sound rough, but I promise my bark is worse than my bite today.
Well, what are we learning about today, Miss Lauren?
So I am working. I've got a couple different other episodes that I'm currently in the middle of working on, but I don't want to do those without Zombie Hannah.
Fair enough.
So we're going to go back in time.
Woo!
Way on back to the dawn of time.
On this year in history.
Yeah. Penal transportation between Australia and the UK ended. Penal. Penis.
Oral test on the penal code.
Anyway, penal transportation between Australia and the UK ended, which was how basically white people showed up to Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prison Island.
Impeachment news. This just in, Andrew Jackson has been impeached. We can see how that would be noteworthy. Doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm. Impeachment is a very big deal.
It is. Yes, it is, B. So are indictments.
Listen,
From the Department of Justice.
I don't want to talk about this.
Anyway, the first transnational women's organization was founded, called the Association Internationale de Femmes. All right, what's your guess?
Well, I'm trying to think of when Andrew Jackson was president. I'm going to guess... Are there any more clues at all before I
Nope.
be stupid? Okay, cool. I'm trying to remember what number President Andrew Jackson was. I'm going to say 1830.
You win since...
Well,
Hannah
sure.
Zombie
How close
Hannah,
was that,
obviously. So 1868.
Ah, damn. Oh, Andrew Jackson was president after Abraham Lincoln. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Who do you think replaced him after the war?
I'm fucking high. It's fine.
And we got Linda.
Ah, yes.
Ah, yes. Linda.
Sorry, Stonewall. I need to bone up on my history, obviously.
Linda Burfield was born in Carver County, Minnesota, to Susan and her first husband, who died during the Civil War.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, before, for those of you who are listening and have already listened to our first few episodes, I've covered this with my old co-host. So now we're going to do this one. Have fun.
Do it better. I don't know, maybe.
Do it different.
Yeah, there we go.
Susan and her first husband he died during the Civil War. She met and she married Montgomery Burfield in 1869 when Linda was 3, and she was the oldest of 8 children. Mm-hmm. When Linda was 10, they moved to Star Lake Township in Otter Tail County, which was where she would spend the rest of her childhood. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Both her parents subscribed to similar views on diet and exercise. They were mostly vegetarian, though some meat was occasionally offered at the dinner table. Montgomery loved his children, and in an effort to mitigate a disease and issues, he called on a doctor to visit the Burfield home once a year with his black bag of magic tricks. Mm-hmm. The doctor examined the kids and then gravely explained that their children were the silent sufferers of potentially fatal intestinal parasites.
What? Is this a goof?
No.
Oh, God.
He's very, very serious. The medicine prescribed to the children had wretched results.
Ipecac.
Yes, intestinal parasites.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And he was very serious about it.
How the hell did they get those?
Nobody knowed. Nobody knowed how they got the intestinal parasites. Mm-hmm. The medicine prescribed to the children had wretched results. Vomiting and diarrhea resulted, which led Linda to believe in later years that the pills were slowly poisoning her insides. Over the literal years that this treatment was tried over and over and over again, Linda came to loathe modern medicine and drugs that would do more harm than good. Because of the way in which the poison affected her body, Linda lost a lot of her front teeth and began to need the assistance of enemas to pass bowel movements.
Jesus.
The issue with enemas is that if you do them too often, you begin to rely on them to a debilitating degree.
All right, guys, I'm just going to go hose out my asshole. I'll be back.
Which is exactly what happened with Linda. Linda married at 18 to a man named Irwin A. Perry, son of a rich pioneer who was 14 years older than she was.
Yeesh.
Less than a month after the wedding, in March of 1886, Montgomery was taking a shipment of logs to his mill when the load tipped, dragged him under, and crushed him.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
But she inherited his fortune.
Linda, being the oldest, arranged for her father to be buried in their homestead of Star Lake. Linda was devastated. To her, Montgomery was the epitome of a good man. The only good man in her life.
Well then.
She would never fully recover from that loss. The Perrys had 2 children. Rollin, born in 1889, and in 1891, a girl named Nina Floy.
Nina
Floy.
It's quite the name.
It is quite the name. And then, according to Linda, Irwin abandoned them in 1898. Around the same time, she took up a new dietary cause. Fasting.
But of course.
The flip side to that story is that everyone who actually knew Linda and Irwin said she was definitely the one who left. She sent Floy and Rollin to live with Grandma Burfield, furthering the theory that Linda walked out on her husband and her kids, effectively making herself single again. Obviously. She saw it as the only way to really get what she so desired, which was to find a cure for her ailments and maladies that she had apparently suffered as a child. Her divorce was finalized in 1902, and after she would say, quote, "I am a divorced woman, but I am not ashamed of that. There are some men a woman can't live with."
She's not wrong.
No.
Some people suck. What are you going to do? You divorce them.
Yep. First, Linda studied osteopathy with the idea that she would become a nurse. But then she found The Gospel of Health by Dr. Edward Dewey.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, lordy indeed.
Now what?
Dewey came to the light around 1877 when he, quote-unquote, healed a typhoid fever case that had been incurable by regular treatment.
Oh, did he now?
He did. 34 days later, the patient was cured. From his success with that, he also published The No Breakfast Plan, another tome that delighted the abandoning mother of 2. Before long, the 2 were pen pals, and Linda felt certain that she would be the one to continue and further Dewey's teachings. The 2 agreed on much of the quote-unquote science behind the methods, although Dewey was a big proponent of allowing the body to rid itself of waste in the most natural way possible.
I'm going to be able to shit again.
Linda was never able to give up the belief that enemas are the better option to cleanse the body completely.
Good Lord.
Eventually, she set up shop in Minneapolis, where the practice thrived in time. In October of 1902, a Miss Gertrude Young sought help from Linda Burfield. She was going by her maiden name at that point. A 41-year-old ravaged by the damaging effects of a stroke, Gertrude felt that the fasting cure was her last hope. Basically, half her body was limp and fairly useless, and she couldn't walk without assistance, so Linda set to work. After 3 weeks, Gertrude woke up vomiting a dark, gruel-like substance. The nurse taking care of her called the physician of traditional medicine, who said that the woman was surely starving to death and she needed food to be introduced into her body again. But Linda had a system. And she was going to follow it, come hell or high water. The patient was to fast for 40 days, no less, before the benefits would be seen. On the 39th day of her fast, Gertrude Young died.
Well then.
Dr. Burfield said the cause was paralysis. The physician who had come back to check on Gertrude when the vomiting happened stepped in again with a request for an inquest. He blocked the disposal of Young's body and sent it to the University of Minnesota, where an autopsy was performed, and it was concluded that the cause of death for the 105-pound corpse was
Starvation.
Mysteriously enough, a number of personal jewelry from the victim and her valuables went missing around the time of her death.
You don't say.
Yeah. Crazy. Weird. The city was outraged, and she was called out in the papers. But ultimately, her methods were not illegal, and though a criminal case was seriously considered, Linda was not charged and continued to be free to practice her methods.
It sounds like that fucking Mormon therapist lady who separated all those kids from their parents.
Lori Vallow?
There it is.
Or Barenthal. Jody Barenthal or something.
Whatever. There's a Netflix thing on it. Whoever the fuck she is.
Fuck her anyway, because she's fucking terrible. Have you seen those?
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Oh
she just fucking retired like last summer instead of being, I don't know, having her license revoked or having to face a bunch of lawsuits. But yeah, that's
crazy.
Not anymore. She's retired, supposedly. The doctor that was claiming all those abuse cases. It's insane.
Fucking crazy. And then Linda met Sam.
Sam.
When Linda met Sam, Sam was a tremor. Not quite top of his class at West Point, he still managed to hold high titles in the military.
Doesn't sound like the Sam I know.
He also managed to rack up very big debts all around the country.
Like a good soldier.
Like a good soldier. He met and seduced very quickly a flibbertigibbet, that's it, literally a quote, a flibbertigibbet named Viva Fitzpatrick. In October 1900.
Well then.
Yeah. The same year that Linda had gotten divorced, in October, Viva and Sam Hargrave were fated to meet on a rainy day in Chicago. And by the time 1903 began, Viva, I think I called her Viva last time. Viva was sure that this was the man for her. There was a short time of long-distance letters, and then on March 8th, 1903, Viva and Sam Hargrave were married. Wow. For a short time, they lived in marital bliss. And then they moved into a new apartment in the home of Frank and Kate Strong, the former of whom was being treated by a starvation specialist. She came to their home often to administer treatments. As the months went on, Dr. Burfield started showing up everywhere Sam Hargrave happened to be. She was smitten beyond help, and she would not be deterred from obtaining him.
Never mind the fact that he's married.
Yep. When Sam told Viva he and Burfield were planning on going into business together, she was supportive. In October 1903, Sam introduced the two women, and the very next day, Viva got a letter in the post. What do you think the letter said?
I'm going to steal your man.
Basically. Yeah.
Yikes.
It said that Sam was in love with Burfield, that they were together, and that his marriage to Viva was a lie.
Oh my God. From Linda, obviously. Yeah, fucking psycho.
She was devastated by this, and she had a guess at who sent it, so she confronted Sam. He assured her that nothing more than a business relationship existed between himself and the good doctor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That night, in an effort to prove his loyalty to Viva, he sent Linda a letter stating in no uncertain terms that their relationship could not continue in regards to their business or personal connections. Quote, I am now engaged in doing the right thing for her who bears my name.
Sure, yeah.
I love my fucking wife. On November 11th, 1903, Sam had lunch with Viva, and a witness said at one point she slapped him across the face.
Good God.
Later that day, Samuel Hazzard and Linda Burfield were married in her fasting office, witnessed by a friend of the couple.
What in the fuck?
Samuel Hargrave became Samuel Hazzard, and Linda Burfield became Linda Burfield Hazzard.
She's a succubus.
That night, the gaslighting son of a bitch went home to Viva, and he continued to go home to her for the next several nights.
What in the fuck?
He married Linda, and then he went back to Viva.
No, I understand. I'm just a little in shock and wondering how we got here. Good Lord.
Sam called her.
It all happened so fast.
It all did happen over just a matter of fucking, like, within a month, basically.
What the shit?
Yeah. He also, so Sam called her into his office on the 14th, but she didn't show. He also didn't come home that night. The next day, she was elated to see him and her father coming into the apartment for about 10 seconds. She was like, oh, this is Viva. She's like, oh, my husband, he's home. Wait, why is my dad here? Sam walked in and told her that she was not his lawful wife, that she had only been his common-law wife, as he had married her under a false name. In reality, he was married now to a Dr. Linda Burfield, the same fasting specialist treating her landlord. Yep. Although devastated, Viva did not take this lying down. She and Linda went to court for Sam's hand, and when he was...
First of all, ladies, no man is worth this. What are we even doing? Stop it. This is insanity.
Fuck. Just...
You don't want him, and also, he's not good for you, so just don't. Oh, Viva.
So, he was convicted of bigamy, and both of them showed up to his cell on a regular basis.
This is some real fucking Bundy shit.
I know. As it turned out, they were two of 3 wives that Sam had taken. The first being Agnes Hazzard years before, who had been married
He
to...
just takes all these women's names and then moves on to the next one? That son of a bitch.
I know.
What in the hell?
I know.
Oh my God.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, Sam is a piece of shit.
But an expert con man.
Absolutely, for sure.
Holy Lord.
She'd been married to him for 7 years before he racked up a ridiculous debt and left it to her to foot the bill, obviously.
That guy died. I got a new name now.
Exactly. He's dead.
Sorry, girl.
Luckily, she heard about his arrest and sent along his prison address to his debtors. Like, here's where to reach him, boys. Got him.
Sell to be.
When Sam was released from prison in October 1905, there could be no doubt in anyone's mind that he would go home to his real wife, Viva Hargrave.
But also, how hilarious and, like, how easy must it have been to just fake your own death or change your identity in the 1800s?
Literally,
Like,
you go to the
Jesus.
next town over and you're like, I'm James. Wait, hold on. I'm Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
Well, he didn't even bother to change his first name. He just kept changing his last name.
I'm Sam Harris. No, Hargrave. No Hazard.
Yeah, and we're sticking with H's, that
I'm
fucking
just literally
stupid dickhead.
I'm walking through the directory and I'm choosing whoever's the name.
Sam Hamlet at your service. Fucking hell.
Honestly, and then how hard would it have been to connect all of these? Like, if he had done a series of crimes, it would have been so easy to just go to the next town over.
Yeah,
fucking
civil crimes
change your
don't
fucking name.
count. That fucking
Bigamy,
piece
yeah.
of shit. Hilarious, though, that was like, that he got arrested for that.
I know. And went to prison for it.
Right, that's what I'm
For
saying.
like, for 2 fucking years.
Scumbag.
Everyone was convinced that he was going to go home to Viva.
Why would he do that? He left her for Linda. Wouldn't he go home to Linda?
Oh, I'll tell you why.
Oh God. I mean, Linda doesn't want his bum ass anymore.
Basically, she was like, nah, I've had it with you.
She had to steal him, but now she's returning him, huh?
But I'll also
she
tell
keep
you.
the receipt?
Well, so he was supposed to go home to Viva. She kept the receipt, yeah. She's like, fuck this, no. Viva had also just come into a large inheritance because her parents had died. And besides, Linda had already publicly denounced him for his wretched, wretched behavior.
So he's going to run back to the rich girl. God, I hope she doesn't take him back, but I know she's going to.
It was not to the strong apartment he returned. There was something about Linda that he couldn't resist. And on the release, he went directly to the Globe building
Fucking
in which the offices of Linda Burfield were located. Throughout
When
1906...
the pussy's so bomb.
The pussy's
God
so
damn.
good. Throughout 1906, the Hazzards were as busy as could be in Linda's fasting office. Her body was proof for the most that the fast worked, and the assistance of Sam greatly eased her workload.
Yeah, I'm just going to eat once every 40 days. No big deal.
Sam would continue to cheat on Linda because he was a basic bitch-ass fuckboy who couldn't keep it in his pants.
Dr.
ass.
Dickless.
What?
I said Dr. Dickless. What an idiot.
Seattle is a ridiculous place of opportunity with no space to hold all of the growth it's gone through in the last fucking 15, 20 years, right?
Sure.
But people kept coming. They keep the hope alive. They go for the next big thing. Back in the early 1900s, it was still a very small shipping town. But people were still just about the hustle. They went there to make some money.
Yeah, all right.
Yep. And Linda was no different. She saw Seattle as a land of chance and opportunity, as well.
Yes.
Yes. As well as a place where those in her family would welcome her. Mm-hmm. She didn't have any base of support left it to her in Otter Tail, or really anywhere near this home she had once loved so much. Yeah. Maybe because she fucking made the paper while she was going to court for a fucking cheating ass scumbag.
Maybe don't do that shit. Maybe.
And then waited for him out of prison, even though you said you weren't.
Well, she was the homewrecker in the first place.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, she's a bitch.
Listen.
Linda had.
What not to do, right?
You live and learn.
Sure.
And then you get loves.
I didn't need to live through that to learn that was not the way to do that, but that's okay. That seems like pretty inherent knowledge.
All right, so in 1907, the Hazzards moved across the country.
The Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah. Linda had the doctors of Hazzard.
The Dicks of Hazzard.
The Dicks of Hazzard. The Dicks of Hazzard, new band name, I call it.
The Duds of Hazard.
There
There's
you
so
go.
many.
There it is. The Dick Duds of Hazzard.
There it is. Getting dick down in Dallas by the Duds of Hazard.
Linda had big dreams for herself. She imagined a giant sanitarium wherein people with every malady imaginable could come be cured by Dr. Hazzard and her miracle fast.
But of course.
While construction started in a small town nowhere town called Olalla on the west side of the Sound, she managed temporary offices in Seattle proper.
The Puget Sound.
Yes. I've been over there. I looked for this.
I've never
because
been
I read this book.
Okay.
I fucking love this story.
Okay.
It is insane. But there used to be a huge area where like basically she had a big ass mansion and then they built all these little cabins.
Tight.
Yes. I went over there one time with a guy I like super casually dated because we were both into true crime. So we would go and like look at all these graveyards and like look for specific true crime stories that we had just heard about and just go and visit their grave and be like, hey, pay our respects.
We were watching How to Be a Mob Boss on Netflix the other night. It's fucking awesome. The Al Capone one is great.
Nice.
Cross the Sound.
Yes. So she's managing her temporary offices in Seattle proper. For the next 5 years, Linda Burfield Hazzard would work to become the best fasting specialist in the world.
And why not?
One who could... What?
I said, yeah, why not?
Sure. Whatever. One who could save the world through her cure. No matter who got in her way. Hazzard was a practiced and polished expert. Let's talk about the fasting thing, okay?
Yeah, I mean, fasting is cool. I support fasting. Maybe not entire fasting for fucking 40 days. But I've definitely had some success with intermittent fasting when it comes to
so this isn't just like you stop drinking and eating and just sit. So I'll explain it. Got cut in mouth like a motherfucker.
Well,
I always just assumed that a fast is when you go without food or water for a certain period of time, but Linda didn't do that. All her patients would have died very, very quickly.
Right.
In 1908, Dr. Hazzard lost Mrs. Elgin Cox. Her patients were to have a cup of tomato or asparagus broth in the morning, and for a short time, also in the evening. For like a couple weeks while they're getting used to the fast, they also have a cup in the evening. Eventually, that second serving would go away. In 1908, Dr. Hazzard lost Daisy Maud Hagland. For those of you who familiar with Seattle cuisine, Daisy is the mother of Ivar Hagland, founder of Ivar's Restaurant. It should also be noted that the official cause of her death was stomach cancer.
oh,
Even if she had not seen Linda, Daisy would still have starved to death.
interesting.
Yeah. She also gave her patients regular enemas. They would be short at first, but as the body becomes used to their process, it becomes less and less effective.
This lady's a sick fuck.
Oh.
All right, you're only allowed to eat a cup of soup in the morning, and then I'm going to wash out your asshole.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Yikes.
She had a special tub for it, and there was like a whole process that they went
She
through.
gets off on this. That's really all
absolutely.
she's doing. Yeah.
She does it to herself.
Yeah.
But throughout this whole story, she truly, like, she's doing this shit herself, and so she truly believes in what she's doing. She doesn't do the fasting.
Is she even a real
she doesn't
doctor?
do the fasting, but she does the enemas.
What are her credentials? Is she even a real doctor?
I'm glad you caught that. I think I get to that.
Seems like she just kind of was, somebody else said, all right, you can be a doctor now because I'm a doctor and I say so. That the beginning of the story was like, oh, she just joined this guy on this thing, and all of a sudden you started calling her doctor. And I was like, wait a second.
I know. I'm glad you caught that. Yeah. So I think in Washington State, they had like a rule at the time, basically, like you could just be a doctor of alternative medicine. You could be a doctor of alternative medicine.
She said, "Yeah, anybody, you just call yourself doctor. He's got a business. He's a doctor because he has a business card that says Dr. period on it."
Yep. Well, and it was also like it's like osteopathy is bullshit science. Chiropractic. Even though, like, I fucking love going to the chiropractor, crack my bones all goddamn day. But also, it's an alternative medicine, you know?
I know. It's just the way, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, but you could just be a doctor.
Apparently. Of anything.
Yep. No, of an alternative medicine. You couldn't go in and do surgery and be like, yeah, I'm just a doctor. No, they'd be like, where are your credentials? And like,
this is alternative surgery. I'm using ancient tools and techniques.
Ting, 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 ting,
It's alternative.
Yeah.
Put spikes in his neck because I'm the alternative doctor.
The enemas would be short at first. She gave that to them regularly.
Yeah, of course.
They'd be short at first, but as the body becomes used to the process, it becomes less effective. So the enemas increase in like consistency
Right.
and in time duration
Pressure,
of the actual
all
thing.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of water going up your blood,
Yeah.
up your poop chute.
In quantity of washing out and duration of the procedure. So she would lay down her patients on cloth cots that sat over tubs as she washed them out. In 1909, Dr. Hazzard lost Ida Wilcox. Furthermore, the
Death
body...
by enema.
Death, yeah. Furthermore, the body needed to be worked out, massaged, so that the toxins could get worked out of the muscles.
All right, you're getting me back. You lost me, but I'm back. I like a massage.
So Dr. Hazzard would punch them. She would pummel their stomachs.
I'm sorry, what?
She would pummel their stomachs, their heads, backs, legs, anywhere, all under the name of massage therapy.
Listen, the first time this lady punches me, I'm fucking hauling off on her ass. That's all I'm saying.
In 1909, Linda, the not doctor, lost Blanche B. Tyndall.
She's just killing all these old people.
No, they're they're all
Okay, they all sound
ages.
like old people
They're
names.
fucking all ages, and they've got all sorts of different maladies. So, basically, she literally has brochures that are like, cure for what ails ya, whatever that is,
Enema.
Pretty much. Exercise was also encouraged for her patients.
Well, yeah, because,
Duh.
you should definitely exercise when you're not fucking eating anything. That's
When
a
you
great
have your
idea.
cup of broth in the morning,
Yeah,
that should be enough energy to get you going.
Obviously.
Go sweat that out,
You fat
and then I'll punch you
turd.
later.
Yeah. And then I'll punch you later. Exactly. Wow.
Yes. So exercise was encouraged for the patients to get the blood flowing and work out the toxins. Her patients would walk all day long. Literally all day long. And the property that this was on, that her dream place was on, had all of these trails, and people would see these people walking through the trails, and they said they looked like ghosts.
Sure.
But in Seattle, while they're still operating in Seattle, these are just skinny ass people walking up and down the streets of fucking downtown Seattle.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah. It became fucking pastime for locals to spot the Hazzard patients. They were comically tiny, and they would come into the grocery stores for scraps of food or to try to send out letters.
That's insane.
In 1909, Dr. Linda Hazzard lost Viola Heaton. Sam had been hard at work advertising her practice, and it gained international intrigue.
Yeah, she's killing all her patients.
No, it's ooh, sanitarium where all I have to do is fast. Sign me up.
I could be bullied into not eating for a couple of weeks.
There was legit a time though where sanitariums were all the rage. You went if you had money to go, you went. And it was basically just a giant mansion spa thing that they called a hospital, and they had various types of treatments. And that was what she advertised it as. Yeah.
Here I am.
A medical spa.
Regain my sanity.
No, it was just a medical spa for whatever. Yeah. Lots of, steam rooms and vacationing type
And starve
vibes.
rooms.
What?
And starve rooms.
Yeah. Obviously.
Ah, yes, the steam and starve. A classic.
Works every time.
Uh-huh. I mean, look, it's not the most healthy thing, but I can confirm that it does work.
I get it.
If you're trying to lose weight, it might not be the healthiest option for you, but the steam and starve. I'm not even advocating for it. I'm just saying I've been there.
Also being super poor.
Well, yeah, but I went from being 350 pounds to 199 pounds in the span of 4 years, and
Jesus
it was
Christ.
it was a lot of steam and starve was a big part of that journey.
If you're going to lose weight in a healthy way.
Yeah, you have to feed your body. Jesus.
For Sam's efforts, from around the world they came, and Dr. Hazzard's patients believed in her cures. Mm-hmm. With every fiber of their dwindling beings, they clung to her teachings and winced in pain through her massages, believing that when the dull ache in their stomachs and the bruising from the punching went away, they would be new people, cured.
But of course.
One of the patients, Eugene Stanley Wakelin, was shot in the head on the property of one Linda Burfield Hazzard in 1909. It is speculated that she was the shooter, although that is unconfirmed.
Who's to say?
Because she was so kind and selfless,
She couldn't have done it.
she couldn't have done it. And she could be trusted implicitly with
Yeah, I love a moral alibi.
moral alibis provide a lot of access,
So insane.
including the details of her patients' lives beyond that of their health. She would graciously accept their permissions to gain access to the bank accounts, and was very good at keeping personal valuables safely under direction of the patients. As their bodies grew weaker, Linda would become more persuasive, just in case, she would say. Disaster planning. In 1910, Linda lost Maud Whitney. Being that she was the last doctor her patients would ever see, she felt responsible for the timely autopsy to determine the cause of death. It was shocking how often these autopsies would lead to the diagnosis that had been sadly undiagnosed during their lifetime. It never ever seemed to be the fault of the doctor that each body she dissected was skin stretching over bones, lips so tight across their faces that they couldn't close their mouths, and every organ shrunk into a fraction of its normal healthy weight. Yeah.
We're just going to make it look like cancer. That way when they do die, we can tell them cancer.
Basically,
and they'll believe it.
I had access to the organs. I should know.
Mm-hmm. See that little spot there? That's cancer.
Yeah.
It is. Good. Don't worry about it.
No, but this stomach right here, this is like a teeny tiny stomach.
Yeah, stomach cancer.
Okay, but no, even with stomach cancer, a male at 39 years old should not have a stomach this small.
Hey, who's the doctor here? You or me?
Me, I'm an ME.
No.
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 But
No.
All right.
It's stomach cancer.
it doesn't look like stomach cancer. Who let you in?
Security!
Can I see your license, please? What are you a doctor of again?
I don't keep my license in my wallet. Sheesh.
I do. You're supposed to. Are you fucking kidding
I
me?
think it's a certificate, actually.
She's like, I just am.
Is that crayon?
What's that fucking movie? Benchwarmers?
Yeah.
I am 12.
I am 12. This guy's 39 years old, and he's drunk.
I have ID.
Yeah, checks out.
Fuck. Great movie. Very underrated.
Oh, we just watched it. That was probably a few months ago now, but it's one of my favorites. I love it.
When I first moved to my dorm in college, I didn't know my roommate at all, right? And she was watching this movie, and she was like, hey, do you want to watch this with me? I just started it. And I was like, what you watching? And that was it. That was the very first movie we watched together.
My mom brought it home for us when we were kids on DVD when it first came out, and we hadn't seen it in theaters or anything, and I just remember my brothers and I became obsessed with it.
It is so funny.
You laugh your guts out the whole time.
There's so many good moments that are just like, oh, beautiful.
Oh, hot dogs and macaroni? Yes, that means garlic bread. It's great. I ticked it. You're still out. You're still fat. That fucking movie kills me.
It was just such a kind of a silly. It was so silly. It was just so fucking silly.
Nick Swartzen is great as Howie the albino.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I can't go outside. It's just the Girl Scout cookies. Hey, that's our food for the week. Girl Scout cookies was their food for the week.
All the piss in the bottles. Oh, apple juice. Not apple juice.
Do not drink that.
Do not drink that. That was actually how I learned that, hoarders and, what is it?
Schizophrenics.
What's the one where you can't go outside?
Oh, I don't remember what they're...
Agoraphobics?
Yeah, agoraphobics, and then the ones that are allergic to the sun.
Right, that's a behavior.
Yes, for sure.
Ugh.
That movie is great, though.
In 1910, Earl Edwin Erdman died under Dr. Hazzard's care. Before he passed, he kept a journal detailing his diet, his energy levels, and incidents that caused setbacks in the healing.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The day after his death made headlines with calls to come up with more stringent laws for medicine. The Board of Medicine in Washington State voted on Hazzard and her medical license.
Revoke her. Please.
All her fame and reputation, Dr. Hazzard was not actually a licensed medical professional.
There it is.
Yes, but because of the loophole in Washington state's laws, she was able to continue practicing medicine.
Oh my God, people.
Under the stance of alternative forms of medicine.
Oh, you had it. You were right there.
Yep. Her Olalla estate plans were finally coming to fruition. The grand sanitarium that she had envisioned for her cure-all practice to work its miracles was nowhere near a reality, but they had been able to erect a number of cabins on the property, and she started accepting more patients.
Neat.
It was to be called Wilderness Heights.
Sure.
In 1911, Linda lost Frank Southard. Dora and Claire Williamson were a fantabulously wealthy pair of sisters who spent pretty much all their time traveling and living in sanitariums. Mm-hmm. They found an ad for her book and paid $1.25 for it to be sent to them. Claire, the younger and more naive of the two, ate up every word. By 1911, they had been corresponding with Dr. Hazzard for months and were thoroughly convinced that they were in desperate need of her cure. Linda persuaded them to send their deposits and to come to Seattle for treatment as soon as possible. They wintered in California, and they prepared to be the picture of health. In 1911, C.A. Harrison died of starvation under Dr. Hazzard's care. When Dora and Claire arrived in Seattle, it was the drizzly middle of February. To the two already very small women, Dr. Hazzard was a striking figure. She stood tall, with angular as fuck features, and she looked as though she could carry both of them without much fucking trouble. You know, just hoist them up. Mm-hmm. Good Midwestern build. Dora had some hesitations, but Claire was in it to win it. She was convinced that they were on the brink of death, and that Hazzard was the only hope for the two of them and their health. They were informed that the sanitarium was nearly ready, but to ensure the best results before things got worse, she would begin their treatment while they stayed in the city. In 1911, Dr. Hazzard starved Ivan Flux to death. By the time the sisters hopped onto a ferry to Olalla at the end of April, each of them had lost over 30 pounds. It's a lot of fucking weight.
Yeah, 30 pounds is a lot for a lot of people to lose. That's not a small amount of weight. And most women during that time were small already.
Yeah, now they both weighed under 100 pounds.
Jesus.
Yeah. To the others on the ferry with them that day, because you got to take a ferry over from West Seattle. Duh. The sisters looked weak but hopeful, and on the ferry ride, someone was allowed in the back of the ambulance that held Claire. They wrote out her will.
Someone was allowed in the ambulance, huh?
When they arrived at the sanitarium, the sisters were separated for their own good. Dr. Hazzard hired a woman named Nellie Sherman to assist in the treatments and managing the patients. Mm-hmm. Dora stayed in a cabin on the grounds, but Claire was too weak for much movement, so she stayed in the room above the Hazzard quarters. Because, you know,
gotta be close.
You gotta be close. Fuck. The sisters were allowed to walk the grounds together and visit with each other, but their time was becoming more limited as Claire got weaker. Mm-hmm. In 1911, Linda starved Louis Ellsworth Rader to death. The sisters would whimper in pain as Dr. Hazzard administered their treatments. You know, the punching and the enemas. Yeah. Massages. Sorry.
Nah, it's abuse. That's
the pummeling.
Yeah. The pummeling, for
let's
sure.
Call it fucking what it is.
Treatment my ass. It's fucking gnarly.
Have you ever had someone try to, like, give you a massage, but they're fucking terrible at it because they go way too hard?
Yeah, and also just, like, some people just don't know how to do it, and it's the best, and by best I mean worst, when somebody claims to be good at it and they're just not.
Yeah.
I'm so good at giving back rubs. And
God, you're going to break my neck.
Yeah, you're going to fucking give me a knot bigger than the one I already have. Just stop touching me.
Exactly.
That's why I got a massage gun, because then you don't have to worry about anybody doing anything besides holding it.
There you go. I want to get just one of those, like, stretcher, like the kind of hammock thing for your head, so I can stretch out and just
hang upside down.
Just hang up. Fuck. I love an inversion table. Yes.
They're not my favorite, but.
I'm constantly cracking my spine because it's all compressed and gone to shit. So, all the while, Linda promised the sisters, Dora and Claire, a few more days. Soon, relief would come. Soon. a cure. When asked if the treatments didn't hurt, Claire responded, quote, "No, it is a most beautiful treatment." As she grew weaker, Dr. Hazzard became increasingly interested in the assets of the poor girl was to leave behind if she died before the full effects of the fast had taken hold. She had Sam help Claire with the paperwork and the verbiage so that everything was perfectly in order. By April 28th, only a week after their arrival, Dora summoned what little strength she had left in her teeny tiny body of over 40 days of fasting to bring herself to Claire's bedside. The tiny woman lay in bed, barely able to speak. Her tight lips moved, but what faint sound escaped was drowned out by Linda. All right, so... Oh, fuck!
What?
I missed... Oh, no! I forgot to bring the book. Oh, God, because I was quoting it directly from
Oh,
that.
that's so
All
funny.
Right. Well, I remember the story anyway, so...
Great. Not a direct quote, paraphrase.
What?
So not a direct quote,
Not
just
a direct
paraphrase.
quote, just paraphrasing. So this came from Starvation Heights, which is the book that was written by this. And
Okay.
even though the detail, like the dating and stuff, is wildly dissimilar, and because it's lazy writing, this scene is fucking straight out of a fucking horror movie, right? So teeny tiny Dora is like, is kneeling, and she's leaning over this bed, and she's trying to hold Claire's hand, and she's like, she just wants to hold her sister and be close to her, and Claire is leaning over, and she's just trying to whisper and get out whatever she can.
Mm-hmm.
And from the fucking darkness of the corner of the room, like coming out, like a fucking monster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Linda comes out, and she's like, "What's that? Are you trying to say something, Claire?" And Dora's like, "Please shut up so I can listen to my sister." And she's like, "Oh, you know what? She really needs her treatment." And so she just keeps talking over her. And Claire's trying to speak, and Dora's trying to listen. And she's like, "Please just be quiet." And she literally listens as she basically at one point, she's like sobbing. So Linda basically sends Dora away. She's like, "You're upsetting Claire, so I've got to give her treatment, and you getting upset is upsetting her, so I'm just going to have you go downstairs."
Mm-hmm.
So she goes back downstairs, and she literally has to listen to the quiet fucking pummeling of her sister as Linda punched her and punched her and punched her.
To death.
And then gave her a fucking enema. Basically was like, "Time for your enema. Just but with a
Super
fucking
like
tube
Bates
up her ass."
Motel type shit.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Sounds like a Stephen King novel.
Very much so. So Claire died that night, and in the morning, disparaged and desperate for some fresh air, Dora managed to open a window to the open air, only to have Linda's face pop out of nowhere. She did that thing where you suggest something by not suggesting it. She was like, "Oh, Dora, what are you doing? I thought you were going to throw yourself out the window. I'm so afraid you're going to throw yourself out." While Dora called that idea fucking ludicrous, she's like, "Are you kidding me? Like, my sister just died. I just need some air." Linda gaslighted her by saying, "You never know, with your brain being so weak and all."
Somebody could write a movie about this lady.
Oh, they fucking should. I've said this many times. This story is fucking crazy.
It's amazing. What a psycho.
They talk about like how cruel Madame Lalaurie was with her enslaved people, and like that's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
This is also fucking terrible.
Yeah.
She's doing it under the fucking guise of curing them, and they fucking
Medicine.
believe this bullshit.
Medicine.
Before Claire died, she must have had a moment of lucidity because she had sent an SOS call around the world to their childhood nanny, a woman named Margaret Conway, whom they affectionately called Tootie. And Tootie fucking Conway is what we're going to call her from now fucking on. Got it? Tootie fucking Conway. She was in Australia at the time, and the moment she got the message, she came on the soonest boat, even though it was a third-class ticket that got her there. Mm-hmm. She's like, "I'm retired from a fabulously wealthy, working for a fabulously wealthy family. They fucking set me up for life, but yeah. I should be sailing first class, but I just got to get there.
Just got to get there.
Just got to get there." When she showed up, Sam was there to receive her. He told her Claire was dead, and Dora was helplessly insane, an imbecile. According to Dr. Hazzard, Sam's wife, it was Claire's wish that Dora remain at Wilderness Heights for the rest of her life. And when Tootie fucking Conway saw Dora for the first time since before that treatment, she barely recognized the literal living skeleton that was in front of her. Over the next several weeks, Tootie nursed Dora slowly back to relative health and listened to pleas for help from other Hazzard patients just as emaciated as Dora had been. Dora gained weight and strength, and in July, Margaret was hanging towels on the line to dry when a stranger approached her. Tootie was. The woman's name was Robinson, and she had an urgent message for Tootie. It was time for her and Dora to leave Wilderness Heights. Robinson had been there the night that Claire had died. She left Wilderness Heights with every intention never to return, but she owed it to the Williamson sisters to share. She had also been the Hazzard's nurse during the Earl Edward Erdman case in the days leading up to his death. She had seen the type of damage that Hazzard was capable of, and she knew that she would not stop until each of her patients was dead. Given that Margaret had already confronted Linda a number of times about the property she knew belonged to the Williamson sisters and had been gaslighted to high heavens and back, Tootie didn't need much convincing. She was like, all right, I'm good. She went to Linda and told her the next day she would be back to collect all the belongings of the Williamson sisters and that she and Dora would be leaving Wilderness Heights. Linda lost her shit. Just like, no.
Can't take my patient. I almost killed her.
I'm just about to kill her. You know, I haven't finished this part of it yet. Duh. Plus, they had a shit ton of money that they willed to Linda and Sam.
Under false pretenses, of course.
You know, just in case. Just until they got better. Right? All right. Linda lost her shit. She said she was Dora's legal guardian and that nothing belonged to them. But badass Tootie fucking Conway was the mountain that would not bow to all of Linda's wind. And Linda knew it. Margaret snuck out of the grounds the next day to send off word. But by this time, she was living large and in charge not only in Olalla, but in Seattle.
Of course.
She had moved into the Waldorf Hotel and was running her dietary business out of there as well. Basically, that was the recruiting area, and then she would send them to Wilderness Heights to, go and recover, get their actual treatment, right? The Williamson uncle, John Herbert, was summoned, and he happened to live in Tacoma or something at the time. And when he had tried to assist them in escaping, he was presented with a huge bill for the treatments. When they paid those at least partly, the next hurdle was trying to get back all of the shit, which just never happened. She kept it. There were written statements apparently Claire had drawn up, bequeathing all the stuff to the Hazzards, and it was absolutely unbelievable, but they were already gone. They were like, we're out of here, fuck it. That's all that we needed our lives. So they got the fuck out of Olalla, and they went down to Tacoma. They stayed with the uncle for a while. Margaret, Tootie fucking Conway, hired this British lawyer who took his assignment very seriously. There was an issue with him being allowed to bring charges against someone else in American courts, so he had to send in for international support. That took a long-ass time. The issue was they couldn't be absolutely sure that Linda had indeed starved Claire to death, so this guy Kelly needed to find a pattern of behavior. He did a very tiny bit of digging, and he found a lot of information. Deaths leading back 3 years in Seattle alone. But because the causes of deaths were always determined to be something other than starvation, that wasn't a sure thing. In 1912, Dr. Hazzard starved Mary Bailey to death. She's still got other patients that she's dealing with. And then there was the case of the body. They weren't even sure that the body was shown to be the body was shown to Margaret Conway, and that John Herbert was actually that of Claire Williamson. It was unrecognizable by two of her closest relations. And if that were the case, how could we even bring charges when we didn't know where the body was? In 1912, Dr. Hazzard starved Robert Graham to death. When charges were finally laid out, the proven starvations of two other international victims, Ivan Flux and Eugene Wakelin, could be ignored entirely. And they were. The trial was fucking wild, with a litany of horrible witnesses for the defense and a cursed 12th seat for the jury box. Literally, 4 people dropped out, and then the last alternate was, had just horrible, horrible fucking IBS.
Jesus.
Yeah. She was eventually found guilty of manslaughter. She was to serve 2 to 20 years. In 1912, Fred Edson starved to death, supervised by another fast enthusiast. In January of 1913, Ida Anderson died. It took her forever to actually go to prison, and when she was released only 2 years later, she left the States and started another medical practice in New Zealand.
Unreal.
She did this with the promise that if she left, the governor of Washington would grant her a full fucking pardon.
He just wanted her to go.
Yep.
Just go somewhere else.
Yep. Don't be here. Go peddle your bullshit elsewhere. Because she's still, this whole fucking time, she's still doing enemas. Like, even, she has to. Because in order for her to take a shit, she has to now. She believes in this bullshit. And even through prison, she's doing the shit.
Wow.
Right. In New Zealand, business thrived again. And she even published another book. By 1920, Linda was back, baby. She had saved enough money in New Zealand to buy back the property and build the giant sanitarium that Linda had dreamed about since Minneapolis. In 1922, she was treating someone all the way down in LA when she got busted for practicing without an actual California medical license. In 1925, she starved Leonard Ritter to death, was convicted of the charge of murder, fined $100, and never spent a day in jail.
What?
Yep, $100.
What the fuck?
In 1935, the sanitarium burned to the ground. The entire community gathered around the estate, attempting to empty as much of the house as they could before it was a lost cause. It's rumored that Linda's son Roland was responsible for the fire. 1 year later, Linda would be arrested once more for practicing medicine without a license. In 1938, Linda got sick and proclaimed that she would show the world that her cure would work, and she would prove that everyone else had been wrong to doubt her. She took to the fast and volunteered her loyal and alcoholic husband Sam as the assistant to her cause. He had been sleeping on the couch for the past 18 years, and they did that shitty thing that couples do where she would bark orders at him, and he was less than helpful when ordered to be, because he had been a shitty alcoholic forever, right?
Match made in hell.
Of course. The day she died of her own treatment in June of 1938, Sam moved back into the bedroom.
Wow. Well, good riddance.
Good fucking riddance,
Rest
man.
in pieces, bitch. That's just insane.
Yeah.
It is crazy to think that there are people that get away with stuff like that, with killing people with malpractice until they die. Like 1938, she was doing that for a long time.
And her last victim was herself.
Well, good. Like,
because she bought her
deserves.
bullshit. Yeah.
But just like, holy hell.
I know.
Well, I'm just happy she died.
Yeah. She
That was great. Yeah. There's much more closure in that than some of the other stories. We're like, and they're still out there. And you're like, what the fuck? Is there no justice in the world?
Well, and this was one of those cases of like partial justice. Definitely not enough justice because she murdered a bunch of fucking people.
It's karmic justice, yeah.
A little bit. But she should have served way more time in prison.
Obviously.
She should have actually suffered for all of the shit that she put other people through.
No doubt about it.
She definitely didn't
but
ever.
There are plenty of people that would argue that death by your own methods is the best punishment. So
right.
I can live with it.
So this has been a fucking podcast.
Been a fucking podcast.
Yep.
We out.
Bye.
Oh.